Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I've got a phenomenal feature coming up next, and I've known her forever and a day, it seems to me, because I heard her writing. I'm like, I love this writing. Please submit to CC&D Magazine. I've had her writing published in the magazine I'm the editor of. Like you guys care. Actually, if you guys hear her, she's got really, really good writing, and she's got a great voice, and I'm so looking forward to her phenomenal feature this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Maureen Flannery! Yeah!
First order of business, lower the mic to my level. I will start with a poem for a day just like this. It's called Secret. Whoever has not felt sleet blown like buckshot into dry red patches of exposed skin, has not fumbled with an iced over door till the key breaks in the lock, has not stared through the loofah of bare trees into a gray sky day after crow-throated day, will not hear the secret divulged in a whisper by the harlot red lips of the tulip. Chicago poem. And another one for this kind of day. I actually went down the street to take a picture of this little girl's treehouse. Selena's treehouse. She has made herself a playhouse, a shanty lean-to of fallen branches and scrap lumber, assembled with a woman's eye for design, creative reuse, and a child's fanciful ease of re-seeing the imperfect. An adequate year-round retreat tucked beneath a tree limb in an obscure corner of her fenced-in yard, but it's April and her drab duckling tree has become fairy queen, an inverse tutu of pale green and mauve. For 2 weeks, this diminutive homemaker is walled in emergent blossoms, roofed in magnolia perfume. Her fantasies layered in striations of pink, she climbs high into private space, suffused in beauty. This is David, my dear publisher, has just helped me with this fun book, and so I thought I'd read a few of the cuts, the ones that didn't make it into the book, because you'll have plenty of chances to hear all the ones that did. This is an elegy poem for a friend of mine who lost her son many years ago, and it's called Drought. He died of water, not much more than a pitcherful. Runoff on a Colorado highway in July would have trickled into a grassy burrow pit, evaporated in minutes. But it was lingering winter, and melt was made hard again for him on his ride home this ultimate night. Unlikely instrument of violence, a shallow puddle of cold water. But the sky conspired in this, and the season, and the improbable specificity of timing, as his front wheels were those to hit and skid on the small patch of black ice. Life water poured out for him that he might drink deep from the well of death. And another poem every time another one about death. When David reminded me how many of the poems in the book were about death, I was reminded that Larry said some quote that death is the reason poets get out of bed in the morning. So this one also, By the Bell. In medieval Europe, they devised a system whereby a string around the arm of a corpse leading out of the coffin could be tied to a bell above ground for just in case. She had gone to the foundry to have cast a good high-tinkling bell, and now she was adamant about the twine. It had to hold. She would use the new jute they had saved for tying bundles of gleaned wheat. After she washed and dressed him in his best homespun clothes, she watched as neighbor men pillowed his muscular bulk into the linden coffin they had made. But she would be the one to tie the twine around his stiff wrist, pull it herself to test its strength, attune her ear to the bell's clear note. With it, he could ring for her like the king summoning his courtiers, answer from underground the sounds of her weeping. This first rose-gray dusk, when all the others were backing away, she dismissed the man on shift, told him she would wait the night beside the grave. Late summer stars averted their eyes from the vigil she kept next to the loamy, new-plowed scent of fresh-packed ground and the all-night silence of the little bell. On a lighter note, this epigraph is from Shakespeare's Tempest. If thou more murmurest, I will rend an oak and peg thee in its knotty entrails till thou hast howled away 12 winters. Who has not wished to live into a tree, be coiffed by a nest of fledglings squawking featherless expectations of wormy nourishment? To be shielded round by the solid, rough-surfaced thrust of bark, its deep paths that part around a branch and rejoin on the other side in skyward climb. To be at once rooted and sun-lured within the rhythmic exchange of light and loamy depths, of consumed and new-made air, of buds' eruption and the falling away of foliage. I myself would half embrace the pithy thread of Prospero, to be conjured back into the core of oak, aerial there to pass a dozen snowy solstices, aging into the very grain of hardwood, my person infused with uprising sap, drawn from dark undersoil to wend through me a meandering path toward beckoning sunlight. Day by reach, moon by twig, and season by centimeter, imperceptibly I would gesture out a limb above some humble shelter where ruffians wayfaring in my knotty heights would camp in craggy branches and plunge into manhood from the vantage of a saddle. This I wrote quite obviously during the previous administration, but it still implies. It's called Confidence. The insular life plants boots on solid ground while a hillside slides into mudded over huts on some faraway bulge in the globe. The protected psyche finds it easy to sleep through remote imploding of bedroom walls, throbbing in some phantom limb missing from another man's body. Blood it cannot see, turning dust vermilion on a distant road it feels certain it will never have to travel down. This is a poem about what the title says, sing a play about Dylan's final years. There was that play Dylan, and they revived it not so many years ago, and I saw it for the second time, and I found myself just weeping uncontrollably. To see the actor did such a great job of bringing Dylan alive again, and just to see that whole process happening before your eyes was unbearable for me. Dylan, alive again, unreliable as life, expounding seesaw pronouncements of spindrift and spray, dispirited of spirits and wasting of unrest before our eyes. Tonight, helpless, we watch rising up drunk Dylan puff into golden through alchemy of old words charged in new configuration. Just juxtaposition of dissonant thought, new listened into savage truth. Renegade rhythms caught out of abandon and set to dance in lexicon and surf. I am in mourning with his disregarded muse, grown used to searching pubs for her besotted flute, with the gods of sound that mouthed in him such glory and found him blacked out of time, time out of mind, and mindfully dying too soon. I, sea-eyed in my seat, see why I weep for the pallid face of my phrases, cry into the salt-lipped day of my wan songs that wither beside his hale and robust worker words, ringing like a hammer-struck anvil through the wake-spanning night, while he races away from his gift to stagger at abysses cliff-edged, bellowing old successes, drunk on the furious pursuit of the three-pronged star that pierces him till he voices blood and bold lines and dies, one oversized word wound still railing against time. Vocabulary downsizing. It must be getting crowded lately on the tip of my tongue with all those languid words laid off, lethargic, lounging around in their underwear in despair of ever being called up again. Family reunion. All the way across the plains, we were briefed on the cousins, their place in family constellations, generational patterns they played out or reacted to, things people knew about their screw-ups and their triumphs, babies they had and given up, drunken first husbands who black and blued and were disentangled from, businesses undertaken, worked to success and overspent back out of existence, whose children achieved beyond their genes and whose tested the bounds of parental devotion. At the end of the seemingly endless drive, we shared the weekend with the hard-working, hard-partying people who share a common pair of progenitors. And back the other way across the plains, we played a different game, trying to draw mental matchups between the vibrant individuals we had met, each day living deeper into unique, interwoven biographies, and the ones who'd been described to us, swollen by family myth, reduced by another's viewpoint, or caught like insects in flypaper in the sticky substance of their old mistakes or frailties. Painter considers the influence of color. I cut the edges with a steady hand. Two colors where they meet transmute the light. The sea's teal blue is sheer near the land. Though I can't say I fully understand the subtle interplay of dull and bright, I cut the edges with a steady hand. The outcome isn't always what I'd planned, a vibrant green beside a neutral white. The sea's teal blue is sheer near the land. The shade we see depends on where we stand, what hues are in periphery of sight. I cut the edges with a steady hand, make clean distinctions where the tasks demand, and sponge the layers of color where I might. The sea's teal blue is sheer near the land. But waves are hardly separate from their sand, and day comes moving gently across night. I cut the edges with a steady hand. The sea's teal blue is sheer near the land.
Nice.
Trucking down the switchbacks. This is one that all of those who helped me workshop will remember. A greenhorn trucker on these mountain roads might not know when to downshift, avoid using his brakes barreling into a steep grade, side-to-side carnival ride, switching left to right again across the descent to the gravel runaway truck ramp straight up toward the rim rocks. A short road to nowhere, like the one she's taking you on. Not like maybe if there'd be a trucker's ramp for love, so when you're hightailing it down the mountain and you smell your brake pads because you've been riding them for dear life and the incline keeps pulling, and you're gaining speed, losing control, fishtailing, and the freight lane trailer wants to send you out over the cactus and scrub juniper canyon, and you know your brakes won't hold and you're going to roll, and you could see that runaway trucker's ramp coming up, holler one loud profane prayer, jerk the wheel sharp right, and head straight up the incline till she slowed to a crawl. This is a true story. I just won a contest with this poem, second place, not one, but
Was that the Joanne Hirschfield Award in Evanston?
Yes, this is the one, and The judge said that she read the poem and said, no, that can't be. And she did some research and found out that it was actually true, so she allowed the poem to be.
You won that 3 years in a row, didn't you?
I did.
Oh my God.
You're trying to plug me so people will buy my book, right?
You're awesome.
Tequileros of Jalisco. Tequila, old-timers of the region will admit, gets its bitter taste from the sweat of naked men. Dark, stocky men with limbs like trunks of huanacashli trees. Slow old men, their wrinkled hides tanned by the acid pulp. Defeated men who stomp the futility of tethered years against the cold stone bottom of the pit. Supple young men, creases of firm cheeks submerged, neglected sex dangling day after day in moist, warm depths of nectar. This is the way it's done in the old stone taquileras, where the juice of mature agave hearts flows from the press into pits hewn centuries ago from the same arid earth that grows agave. Taquileros, knowing the process in their bones, strip naked, lower their backsides into vats in the floor, work the pulp with their hands, feet, knees, toes, pull fibers from the juice, mash thick liquid, refine the mash with their muscle, spice it with their skin. Order a shot to celebrate what's forgotten. Savor the taste of man labor in the spirit with a hint of expectation dictated by the gods of destiny and place, by Our Lady of Machete Harvest, the Virgin of Zapopan. Tongue salt into the sabor of reliable process, the picosa of necessity's lack that bites the mouth and cleans the whole digestive tract. Squeeze limon into fermentation of traditions 9,000 years rooted in Jalisco soil. Sip the distillation of histories, layered like agave spikes in spirals of reaching. Is it time?
No, it's just checking. I think you're awesome.
Okay.
You're awesome.
Okay. When the body no longer accommodates. This is one of the many in a whole long series that I wrote for my father's passing and for the process of his preparing for his death. When the body no longer accommodates, consider the fire of purgatory this, that the newly disembodied soul burns with desire for that which it has no flesh to satisfy. Old nicotine urge is when a man searches all his suit coat pockets for just one cigarette to light up in the desperate midnight of new resolve. Dead, he smolders with craving, not only for the fags he packed off, but as well, or not so well, for the hand to light one and the lips to hold it there, missing the breath of non-existent lungs. Think of the philanderer absent his ever-eager body, not even one gonad to be had in vast starry regions of cosmic responsiveness. But left with all that lust to crust over any adjustment like a half-healed scab that keeps being picked before the skin is ready. And see then how my father, still on the shore, but wading ever deeper toward clear waters of the afterlife, fishes with no hook, casts from the edge of his bed, always ready for that big one to bite. And here's one for my daughter, and I promised I wouldn't read too many about growing up or being taken in by the Titanic. So this is not the Titanic poem. Sleep work. But it's one in the long line, the genre of the parent watching the beautiful child sleep and thinking about the future. So it was a long time ago. Sleep light and faithful in the misted night place of your thought-making, my dear dream-believing daughter. unsquandered repository of the possible. Craniumed potency there in the gestating egg of your resting head bides its enlivening time. Crusted rivers of robin breast hair flow into seas of air over the bed where you lie, busy with dream learning that turns you womanward. Despair skulks beyond wide thrust range of those innocent fate-trusting days where birds of a destiny soar together and kindness calls its kind. You, safe inside, why not, the night through, concoct a balm for world abrasions? What white-steeded youth with half-moon truths in his metaphysic will woo you out of grace and into wakefulness? What dark-curled campesino with spiced hot thoughts in his fire will court you with country matters and salsa you off the dance floor and into a counting house? What tempest-tossed prince of wayfaring charm will disarm you bravely with promises of lost new worlds? What emboldened, bashful boy, knowing nothing but the lust-crusted logic of his own unbridled love, will speak golden and offer you dark earth to grow homeward into? Sleep lightly in the hard-turning night, my beautiful craver of justice, on your unconscious way to change and be changed. Am I okay? Okay. In the headlights. Her breasts flashed forward like headlights of a fast-approaching truck, and he, the gentle buck, stood broadside in the highway, destined to be roadkill. Another one from my new book, Preview of Tunnel into Morning. Feet. From the confines of a turbulent dream, my feet begin their mutiny. Curse and kick off covers, bored with fleece slippers and scratchy woolen socks. They have dreams to touch down on, where they go in search of steel drums and other naked souls kneading the bare earth like bread dough. They would wander without direction, choosing each next step on the tactile basis of softness or warmth, perhaps a shade of green in the grass or glint in the mud, dust, sand. They want to stand at canyon rims, crush grapes in sun-hot oak vats, feel wine congeal under nails like blood from stigmata. Toes long for the ooze of black river mud, desire silver stiletto heels to tango on cobblestones behind the brothel. These fugitive feet, graceful in their own memory, gentle as rain under layers of stone, recite to each other cantos of bucolic verse. For all those lovers of John Dickson among us who, for those of you who had the pleasure of knowing him and knowing his poems, here's a tribute to him at his death. Welcoming party for John Dickson. After he had fumbled his way through all the events of an ample life, back to the cherub-infested afternoon of his birth, once he had navigated the inviting tunnel of white light, greeted his wife who preceded him so recently, might he then be welcomed home by one, then another of the improbable characters who populated his poems? The suction-limbed octopus lady who left her calling card of inky stains. The desperate spinster who swung nude in the backyard after an alfresco bath in hopes of attracting voyeurs. The hapless suitor who played guitar beneath his love's balcony as the lava of passing time rose up around him to encase his failure for the viewing of future archaeologists. The Bulgarian bridegroom who hung out the blood-stained sheets for the scrutinizing eyes of all the busybodies from the countryside. Personified comely days whose life and the remorseful poet had bored out of being or suffocated away. Sweltering apartment dwellers who on hot summer nights migrated with their sheets to the Toohey Avenue beach to share the open-air bedroom. An unexpected doppelganger named Bob, whose mysterious broken life was woven by strangers into the speaker's own story. All those preposterous people with their dear, unlikely lives, memorable for the degree of their outlandishness, written into reality that we might learn to love them beyond the heaves of our laughter, that we might see how each of us, in our everyday ways, being ridiculous, is thereby poem-worthy. I think that's a good place to stop, but maybe if I have time for one more, I'll do the final tribute to John Dickson.
It said Wally.
It says Wally.
It said Wally.
Wally. It said Wally on the patch of his blue work shirt. Tom was there, so he remembers. It said Wally on the patch of his blue work shirt. Wally's task was to dig, make sure there'd be 18 inches of dirt between the ashes and the surface grass. I asked him if he knew that the man we interred was a poet. No, he didn't know, nor was he impressed, but he didn't seem to mind my putting an elegy among the rose petals sprinkled into those last few inches of loose soil. Indifferent to our speculations, intent on completing the job, Wally was perhaps used to women sobbing as he worked, filling the hole again with dirt. Deliberate, slow, respectful, as we spoke about the noble soul who had informed this dust. I trust that Wally was a man John Dickson would have liked to know.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't believe that was loud enough. Give it up one more time for Maureen Flannery. Thank you very much. And you know, there are a couple copies of Rhino here. I should have said something about this. Rhino! And like, somebody should yell something out about them. There are copies there. They're available for sale. I think I'm so great because I produce a monthly issue and it's this tiny little thing, but she's got this massive volumes.
Rhino, a whole year.
It's like, well, yeah, you got a whole year in that stuff. It's crazy. It's a huge book. Tall, big pages. It's really awesome. So check that out. It's really, really cool. And if people didn't see this, I'm looking at this one in particular for Drunk Fest, for being able to go out to Evanston to read. Dave Getchick, I don't know if you've actually got space for being able to read. I might be able to do it. Although that is Memorial Day weekend, is it not?
I don't know.
The 28th? Is that what, Monday? That's May 28th. That's Memorial Day weekend, isn't it?
Damn it!
Well, no, I mean, that might be well and good for everybody. There's a thin chance that we've got Indy 500 tickets, although I might just make him go off so we can have some alone time together and we can go.
I have a publication party for Elizabeth Marino next
Debris!
Sunday.
It's Mother's Day.
Oh, that's on Sunday. Oh, that's right. Oh, yes, it is. And that's right after our wedding anniversary.
I put on Jeff Helgeson's play a couple weeks ago on Easter.
You just pick all the right dates, don't you? Well, now I gotta say a few things about upcoming features because we've got a great feature. Thank you again from Maureen Flannery. If you want to know anything about it, we'll have it as a podcast and it will be a YouTube video. If you go to chaoticarts.org/The Cafe, and you'd be able to find out info about Maureen's great feature. Thank you again so very much. Next week, Oz Hardwick, a man from London, will be in town, and he is in like the calendar from Scars, and he's got stuff in CC&D and past issues, and he's going to be doing a feature next week, which should be really awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. Now, on May 17th, in 2 weeks from now, right now we've got an open date, which is what I'm thinking. It's going to be like a mini feature night for everybody. I might pull off another short story or something. It should be a really, really cool evening. And then I've got this really cool, gorgeous-looking man over here that wouldn't even read tonight. I'm so jealous. But Jim Davis is our feature on May 24th. We've got Wayne Allen Jones the week after that. And in June, we've got Kathleen Shandemeyer, a bunch of phenomenal phenomenal people. So you can always check it out, chaoticarts.org/the cafe. And once again, thank you so very much. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you next week.